Foker with Autodesk Product Support, and I'm hoping everybody can hear me okay right now. If not, please let us know. We've had some difficulties with audio, and therefore I will be the only one presenting today. Hopefully everybody can hear me right now. So again, I'd like to welcome you to this episode of your Build Your AutoCAD IQ webinar. In this session, we're going to go back to basics and cover drawing the line. I'm joined today by Jason Forelli, who is on the East Coast. He will be answering some chat questions whenever, as they come in. And I will do my best to answer questions as well. Again, we are having some minor technical issues here. So hopefully everything will go well with this webinar. So before we get started, again, please feel free to leave the questions in the chat window. We will also host a Q&A session after the presentation. So I would really urge you to check out and write down the URL that is on the screen. This URL has also been sent to you in the webinar reminder email that you received. Basically, what's going to happen is for an hour after this webinar, we will have several technical experts standing by in this forum to answer any questions that are on topic or even off topic that you may have as far as support issues go. Okay? And I'll draw some line works. Now, oftentimes, I may finish a command and then realize, oh, I had to draw another segment here. So one of the cool things I've always liked about the line command is if I hit enter twice, once to repeat the command, it prompts me to specify a first point. I can hit enter one more time and it continues that line where I left off. So that's a pretty nice feature. Now, having said that, and us not talking about the arc command, I've always found this to be kind of nice. If I do use an arc and I hit enter, it actually continues it where the line left off. So that's, you know, it may be useful to you. It may not. I've found it to be very handy in some instances. All right, let me go ahead and erase that. Actually, I'll keep this here. And let's move on to the polyline. The polyline is much more complex. Okay, it allows me to draw line and arc segments, but they are treated as one continuous object. And there's a lot of functionality here as well. We can add width to that polyline. We can make an arc out of that polyline. Thickness and elevation for 3D. Okay, so if I pick a starting point, it's just like an AutoCAD command. But on the options, we have arc, half width, length, undo, and width. So undo is pretty self-explanatory. Length, well, that's basically me typing L and saying, hey, I want the line to be 2 units long. I can just use direct distance entry for that. In fact, that's what I'll do. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this a bit, and I'll go ahead and type in a value of 3. And I've just pointed in that direction, and it's drawn the line 3 segments long. Now, the cool thing here is I can choose a width. So I am going to go ahead and right mouse click. I could have typed it from the command line. I'm going to choose width, and it prompts me for a starting width. Well, I'm going to go ahead and type 1, and then it prompts me for a ending width. I could type 0 or 1 or whatever width I want. I'm going to go ahead and type 0. And basically, this allows me to create a nice little arrowhead. I'm just going to go ahead now and use direct distance entry and type 2, enter, and I've drawn that arrowhead. Now, the width right now is still set at 0. I'm going to point straight downward, but I'm going to go ahead and choose arc. It goes into an arc mode, and again, using direct distance entry, I'll go 2 units again, enter. It draws that arc with a diameter of 2. I need to now switch back to the line option. And notice all the different options we have here available. And they're all on the command line as well. So if you're a typer, you can quickly use that. I'm going to go line. And now I'll type H for a half width. And for a half width, I'll go ahead and put in 0.125. Enter. And I'll hit enter to accept that as a second or ending half width. And I will draw that, let's see, 5 units to the left. And now I'm going to go ahead and switch back to a width of 0, enter, 0, enter, there we go, enter. And I'll use the close option to close this up. So what's a half width? Let's take a look at that first. A half width is basically half of a width. Okay, it doesn't mean I'm only going to get half a side of a line. It just says, okay, multiply 2 times 0.125 to get a width of 0.25. I once asked why, and my understanding is it's for engineering purposes. That's the best I can do on that. I apologize. I don't know at all. The one thing about this object is that it is treated as one continuous object. Okay? And if you take a look here, AutoCAD will even tell me that this is a closed object. Why is this important? If you want to place a hatch, it needs to be a closed object. If you want to get an area, which we have right here, it needs to be a closed object unless you want to pick points. So, and there are other reasons to have a closed border of one type or another. Okay, this is more about drawing commands, okay? But in order to work with the polyline, you do need to know a little bit about modifying it. So we're only going to There are 2 ways to modify a P-line. One is, well, actually there are more because we have grips here as well, but one is a very abrupt and destructive command called explode. When we use the explode option, I had this selected, went to the explode command. It now converts this into single entities. Okay, so basically I've lost all the intelligence I had in there. It no longer is a closed object. Now I could easily convert this back to a polyline. Under modify, we have a command called pedit. And the pedit command prompts me that this is not a polyline. Do I want to turn it into one? And I'll go ahead and select right-click for yes, and then get the option here that are available for editing. The only one I'm really going to work with right now are join and width. Okay, so basically I converted one of those line segments into a polyline object, but now I need to tell it that I want to add the rest of these objects to that polyline. I'm just going to put a window around the entire thing. And it tells me that 5 objects were found. 1 is a duplicate, which was the first item I selected, and then 5 total. Okay, so I'll go ahead and enter one more time, and I now have a closed polyline again. Now I'm not going to get the shape back that I had prior to this. Okay, and note the vertices here for the segments that I had initially. What I can do is using that same pedit command, I can go ahead and give it a width, and let's go ahead and go 0.25. And that allows me to give it some kind of definition, if you will. So those are two ways to modify. I encourage you to use the help file to explore the pedit command. I'm sure we'll do a webinar on some of these modify commands that are fairly complex. But there is one more thing I'd like to show you here, and this is just kind of cool. This was added in 2011, I think it was, AutoCAD 2011. And here we could stretch this object using the right click here or add a vertex. Very similar to what's in the pedit command. But this is my favorite option here, and that's to convert that to an arc. So just, I don't know, a fun little thing there. So that is a polyline. We're going to see some other polyline objects now as well. A quick way to just create a box or a rectangle is to use the rectangle command. The rectangle command basically creates a polyline object. Okay, now note the options here. We have chamfer, elevation, fillet, thickness, and width. Again, thickness and width are, thickness and elevation are for 3D work. But chamfer, fillet, and width are, chamfer and fillet are just like the standalone commands that we have called chamfer, which allows us to bevel, or fillet, which allows us to either create a corner or a rounded corner. Width, of course, allows me to assign a width similar to the object I have here. Other than that, the rectangle command works as you would expect. Very simplistic. We just put 2 points on the screen and we have a rectangle. Now we could enter coordinates for our starting point, coordinates for the ending point, but there is an option available here called dimensions. And for new users, this may be a little easier to work with. In addition to that option on the command line here, we have area and rotation. So let's take a look at how those 3 options work. And I'll go ahead and actually add a maybe a fillet to this as well. So I'm going to repeat the rectangle command. And at this point, I'll go ahead and right mouse click and select fillet. I'll go ahead and give it a radius of, let's do 0.25. And I'll go ahead and give it a width of 0.125, just for grins. And then I'll pick my starting point. Now it has that prompt for area, dimensions, or rotation. Let's go ahead and select rotation, and I'll type in 30. And then I'll go ahead. I could type in area, by the way. If I have a known area that I want the rectangle to encompass, I could type that in. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to choose the dimensions option. And basically what this tells me to do is specify a length and a width for that rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and specify, let's do 6 for the length, and let's do 8 for the width. Let's do 10 for the width. There we go. And now it prompts me to place the other point of the rectangle. So you have quite a bit of functionality there. We have a fillet radius, we have a width, and we've applied a rotation to it. The one thing you need to be aware of here is that the next time I go into the rectangle command, it uses the same properties that I assigned earlier. So you're going to have to reset the rotation to 0, the width to 0, and the fillet to 0 in order to get a rectangle like this. So just be aware of that. All right. Now that's the rectangle command. So let's take a look at another very cool command here, and that would be the donut command. The donut command allows me to create a filled circle. It's basically a polyline that is connecting two arcs. And as you can see in the little picture here, the donut itself can be used for things like maybe a circuit board. There are other uses for it as well. Here they have a handicap sign, and this being the head of that person. This is a very simple command to use. It does have a multiple option to it. That is, once I place one donut, it continues with the command until I exit out of it. Donut, you can type in DO, you can get it off of the draw menu like I just did. You can type DONUT, or just for grins, you can type DOUGHNUT. Who says programmers don't have a sense of humor, huh? Yeah, so anyway, I'll go ahead and draw. It prompts me right now to specify a point for or inside diameter of a donut. For this example, I'll go ahead and do 0.75 for the inside diameter and 1 for the outside diameter, and I'm prompted to enter a point, a base point. I'll go ahead and just pick another point because I'm still in that command. I'll right mouse click to exit because that is the default on the command line. And I'll repeat the donut command, giving it a 0 inside diameter and 1 for an outside diameter. And this allows me to create a filled circle. So there are probably many times you've had a need for that, and maybe you've used a hatch. Okay, the donut command works great for that. And just for grins, let's make this a happy moment, having learned about the donut command. All right, sorry, bad humor. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what I feel are some underutilized commands here. And these are actually construction lines. Under the draw menu here, we have two commands. One is called a construction line. The command itself is an X line, and we have array. With the array command, the X line command, a very neat bit of functionality here. Going into the X line command, I can type XL at the command line. Now, it has several options here. We can create a horizontal construction line, vertical, and angled. We can use it to bisect an angle, or we can use an offset option. Construction lines and arrays both are infinite pieces of line work. Okay? And just by picking a point, I am drawing that construction line. Notice when I zoom out to extents that it only fills the screen where I have objects in the drawing. It does not include that construction line as a default. But if I zoom out, you'll see that this goes on forever in 3 days. Now, construction lines can be trimmed. They can be, we can use the fillet command on it, the chamfer command. Any modify command works on a construction line. Let's see some of the functionality here. First of all, a neat feature is the offset command. So repeating the X-line command, I'll go ahead and choose offset, and it says to specify a through point, or you can type in a value. I'm just going to pick 2 points. This is the distance I'd like to offset, and notice how it's offsetting this according to the angle of the object. So that's pretty cool stuff right there. And I'll go a little further with this in a few moments in a better example as to how you might want to use this. Right now I'm going to undo that. Horizontal for X line will place a horizontal construction line. And vertical, of course, places a vertical construction line, and angle will place a construction line at whatever angle you desire. One nice option here is the bisect option, and it allows me to bisect an angle. So having done that, I'm going to go ahead and choose bisect. It prompts me to specify an angle vertex. I'll go ahead and choose the center point here, and then an angle starting point and end point, and I have successfully bisected the angle of this arc. So I don't know, I know I've had a need for this at times. If you weren't aware of this tool, this functionality, it's something to keep in mind. So let's take one more look at the offset function of the construction line. And that is, here I have a side and front view of an object, and I want to create a top view of it. So going into the X-line command, I'm going to first go ahead and choose vertical, and I'll go ahead and just pick it off of there. And that allows me to quickly place my line work, my construction line work, like this. I'll finish the command, and now I'll repeat it and choose horizontal, which allows me to, of course, place horizontal lines, just like that. I'll finish the command, and using trim, I'll just go ahead and select all my construction line work here, and I'll trim off the unnecessary construction lines. Oops. There we go. Oops, missed that one as well. There we go. And one more. And well, now we have quickly created a top view of these two objects. Pretty handy. I know I can't get any feedback right now, but I hope you can find a use for this in your everyday drafting. Two more items here, and one of them is the ray command. The ray command is like a subset of an X line. Instead of having an infinite line going in two directions, we have a line with a starting point, and then it goes off to infinity in one direction. Now, this can be useful. Best example I can think of, and I typically, to be honest, I use the construction line, but you may have something like this corner here, this curved corner, and you want to apply some sections to it. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and draw a construction line at 90 degrees, then I'll draw it at 15-degree angle off of that, going down to 75, 60, 45, 30, 15, oops, shaky fingers today, and then down to 0. After that, I can use the trim command to select my cutting edges here, and trim away the stuff that I don't need. So I've quickly entered those little sections there. So, you know, some useful tools right here. We're going to take a look at one more command, which is also a draw command, and that is the rev cloud command. The rev cloud is what you would expect. It's a revision cloud, and we can find that right here. The revision cloud allows me to pick a point and just start placing a revision cloud. So basically, I could do something like this. I just picked the starting point, and now I'm hovering not even picking or anything. I just bring it around to the start point and it closes that revision cloud by itself. Now note the options on the command line here. We have a minimum arc length of 0.5 and an arc length of 1. So maybe these arcs are a little too small to really show up in your drawing because of the scale of the drawing. So what you can do is go into Rev Cloud, go into the arc length option, and you can specify a new distance. So let's maybe give this a arc length of 2 for minimum, 3 for maximum. And now, by picking my starting point, I just move my cursor from start to end, and it closes that Rev Cloud. Another nice piece of functionality with the revision cloud is for all those artistic people out there, architects for one, okay? Maybe we'll want something a little nicer looking on the screen, so we could actually go into the style option here, and we have the ability to choose calligraphy. I'll go ahead and pick a start point, and nice little artistic looking revision cloud. My favorite feature when I was using a lot of revision clouds in my drawings was the ability to just select an object. Okay, this is one of the options in the Rev Cloud, and that is object. Now, the thing about objects, I was mentioning earlier that there are a lot of uses for a closed polyline object. This is one of those. We need to have a closed object in order for this to work. I'll go ahead and select object, and it says select the object. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and select this, and it turns it into a revision cloud. I could reverse the direction, okay, and there are times where you may have to do this, and basically it'll do that for you. Okay, so very cool feature of the revision cloud. So before closing, I lied to you. I actually have one more command that I completely walked over, and that is the Polygon command. There are many times where you might need this. I know having to do like screw heads or bolt heads, the Polygon command is what I needed to use. And for some reason, where'd I hide that little guy? There we go. It's under rectangle. Polygon. All right, Polygon command has 3 different options. We can draw one using an edge distance, circumscribed about a circle, or inscribed within a circle. Now, basically, this means that we are basing the polygon on the radius of a circle. I'm going to draw 2 circles here that are just going to be for demo purposes, for references. All right, so I'll go into the circle command, and we'll make these a radius of 1. I'll repeat the command, place another one here, radius of 1, and we'll go ahead and change that to the object layer. And now we'll go into the Polygon command. I can also type POL at the command line. So the first thing it does, it prompts me to enter the number of sides. You can have as few as 3 sides, or you can have as many as 1,024. Usually I've never had to use 1,024. Let's choose 6. All right, then it prompts me to specify the center of the polygon. Now, a polygon does not have a center similar to what a circle has. It's just basically saying pick point, and this is the centroid of the polygon. So for reference, I'm going to use this center point of this circle. I'll choose the first option, inscribed within the circle, and it prompts me to specify the radius of the circle. 1, enter. Again, this is for demo purposes here. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and repeat the Polygon command. I'll use the same default, 6, and I'll specify again the center point, but I'll choose circumscribed about, and again I'll type in 1 for the radius. So the difference here is that when it's inscribed within the radius of a circle, the vertices would be the outer edge of a circle, and when it's circumscribed about, the flat edge would be the outer radius of that circle. Okay, but again, ignore the circle itself. That was purely for reference. If we go into something like the line command and try to get a center point, we're not going to get it because it doesn't have one. Let's take a look at the last option of the Polygon command. Again, we'll choose 6 sides, but this time we'll choose the edge option, and we're going to tell it the first endpoint of the edge. We'll just pick a point here, and it says second endpoint. Well, I'm going to go ahead and point directly downwards, and I'll type 1, give it a 1 unit length, enter, and it's placed my 6-sided polygon. So a bit of a difference in how all of these work. So that basically concludes that demonstration. I have placed some additional resources in this PowerPoint, and I would encourage you to download it. It has information not only about these draw commands, but there are additional links there which point to the tools that you would use to modify those objects, as well as system variables which may affect them, and other related commands. So some coming actions here. Again, we have 2 webinars scheduled for the 15th and 22nd of next year, January, getting a handle on grips and macro automation. I'd also like you to remind you that we have other webinars scheduled, and you can check those out on our help page. And please do go to the forum to leave any questions you have that may be related to this topic or any topic. We're going to have one of the product team members there, as well as several of our tech support specialists, and especially with this session where I wasn't able to answer any questions due to the sound not coming through on my end. I really would like to answer those questions for you. So if you go there, we're going to be standing by for 1 hour, and we would love to see you there, get your feedback, answer any questions which you might have, and help you out, or just listen to your comments and feedback about this session. So I do appreciate your time, and I do know it's valuable. So again, please join us there in the next hour, and we'll do what we can. It's been a pleasure. For those who won't join us in the next hour, and even those who will, I wish you a happy and safe holiday, and thanks for attending.